how difficult it was for you to, or easy it was for you to rework on a script written by Cameron, because I'm sure he must have envisioned it in a different way, and on top of that you had Kishiro's version as well.
Yeah, well, Jim's script was 180 pages, and script was supposed to be around 120 pages, so it was about 60 pages too long, but for a film. But it had everything in there, so it was a real joy that I could just go in and edit down, you know, almost like reduce the sauce in cooking terms, make it as potent as possible.
Okay.
And he gave me 600 pages of notes, so that any holes that were left from my chopping, I could fill it with more Jim. So the script, I just loved the script. It was great. I just needed to make it shorter so that we could convince the studio to give us the money to go make the movie. But it was all there, and I was stunned to see that it was so complete. I thought he had just was going to start the project, but he had done a lot of work. He was getting ready to go actually direct it. So that really made it exciting.
John, the films that you've produced have always pushed the envelope when it comes to technological advances. You made Avatar in 2009, which is the most complicated motion picture up till that point, and over a decade later you have Alita coming out. How superior is this movie in terms of technology?
Well, I think we look at technology as a way to allow us to tell stories that we could not otherwise tell. And with Alita, we have so pushed technology. We look at what Weta has done on Planet of the Apes, and Weta will tell you how much further they have gone in creating her performance. That's the key. You start with the performance, but creating a photoreal character that interacts with dogs, bites chocolate, hugs people, kisses people, in a seamless blend of synthetic computer technology and the photographic world.
Rosa, I'm sure Alita must have been a challenging role for you to play, because given the fact that it's a performance capture film. So during the making of this movie, how would you process a scene? Because you have to be in that zone in order to elevate your performance, right?
Well, the thing is, the process was very similar to just any job I've ever had. It was an intensely physical part, so in between takes I was doing high kicks and stretching and doing a little boxing just to keep myself, my heart rate elevated, to keep myself ready. So that was pretty challenging. But otherwise, it was just the same process that I learned when I learned my craft back in acting school. You know, I really wanted to remember where I'm coming from, where Alita is coming from, where she is in this moment, because she accelerates very quickly. She grows exponentially in the film. And then where is she going? And why? So I was constantly digging back into my my roots as learning and acting, and employing that in the film. We also had an excellent scriptie. I have my anchor right here, who would show me what I actually looked like through an animatic in playback. So I had all of those tools at my disposal, but it was really no different from other than the physical aspects. From any performance. They promised me, you just have to give the most organic performance that you can give. I said, I can do that for you.
Awesome. Robert, the line between technology and performance is quite tricky. How did you manage to retain the rootedness of these characters?
Yeah, well, I mean, you try to just find the truth in it. You know, what makes a great film is the mix of truth and spectacle. Spectacle is why we go to the movies. That's what you're going to get. But if the truth isn't there, then it's not gonna stay with you. So the human aspect, and that's why she means by the technology going away. She just had to not worry about what Alita was going to look like or what the spectacle was. It was all about finding that truth in her human performance. That's what people are going to relate to, and that's what you'll see. That's all they're going to talk about is actually her and how magnetic she is and how much her story draws them in because of her performance and that's what's key.
If that's not grounded, you don't really care.
You have to have that grounded, yeah.
You don't really care about anything else.
Jim told me too, you know, it has to, for science fiction, especially science fiction or fantasy to work, it has to be really grounded actually. Otherwise, you're not going to believe the fantasy. And the human aspect has to feel very relatable, yet it's told in a very expansive way, in the most, you know, unique locations and setting possible. But the human aspect has to be true.
John, again, be it Avatar or Titanic, these films have done huge numbers in India, and I've been told that Alita is also gearing up for a big release in India. As a producer, how do you assess the Indian market? Because there seems to be a penetration happening right now.
Well, look, I remember when I visited India, and I was really surprised and impressed by the quality of theaters that are there. And, you know, it's a very diverse country. So you have a lot of different territories within the one country that you have to be able to play to. But what happens with a movie like Avatar or a movie like Alita, it has universal themes. They're not about any one specific thing. And that's why I think these movies are play so well in India. And I can't wait for the Indian audience to fall in love with Alita.
Rosa, could you describe that moment of watching Alita come alive on the big screen? How was it?
Oh my God. John said, we're going to screen Alita for the cast. I said, John, I need to see it by myself. This is a very intimate moment for me. Will you please allow, he said, being an amazing producer, he said, of course, I'm going to make that work for you. So he brought me in. It was just me in the theater. And I said, okay, I'm so excited, I'm ready to go. And the moment the Fox logo came up on the brum bum, brum bum, I immediately was like, but I broke down, but then the world opens up and the trash comes from Salem and it's sunrise and I got sucked in like any moviegoer, any normal person who wasn't involved with the movie for 3 years. And I went on that ride, and then afterwards, you know, I was so emotional, I was crying, and he said, "Do you like it?" I said, "Yeah, of course, I love her." And he said very wise things to me. He said, "Nobody has a magic 8-ball. No one can say this is going to be the biggest movie or the smallest movie, or it's going to do this or it's going to do that. Anything could happen." But are we proud of the movie made? Did we make the movie we set out to make? And I said, yeah. And he said, then we did it. Awesome. And that changed my whole perspective on making films and why I do this. So I was so pleasantly pleased, and actually I was critiquing my performance. And I'm like, oh, I'm doing the thing with my, you know, every actor does that. I'm doing that mouth thing again. And I told John, he's like, you do realize that then we kept our promise because you see your performance through a CGI character. And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. I forgot for a moment that wasn't fully flesh me up there. So it was surreal to say the least.
And Robert, you've mentioned in an interview saying you always wanted to make a James Cameron movie. Has he watched the film? What was his response like?
Oh yeah, no, he loves the film. He's been watching it all along. He's worked on it as well, and given feedback all along the way. And it's like he said when we first started, it would be like building a go-kart together. So we had he got to ride it around, and you know, he's really pleased that the wheels didn't fall off. Yeah, he thinks it's a stunning film, and very happy he called me and personally just said that he thinks it freaking rocks and just loves it. So I'm very pleased for that, because that was the main goal for me. I didn't want him to look at the film and say, I knew I should have directed it myself. You know?